You should just make the video. You should take the picture. You should jump into whatever it is that has been on your heart, especially when it comes to things that God has laid on your heart. And if God has given you a dream or a vision or an idea, just go for it. What's up, friends? So I was just looking through my hard drive. I was just cleaning out some stuff, and I came across a video that I had made last year. As I was looking into this video, I remember the reason why I made it. And this was before the Pillar Project was even a vision. And it was before I'd even talked about wanting to do YouTube type stuff to encourage people. It's before any of that. And I had just gotten my camera and I set it up, and I'm a photographer. And so that's kind of my creative outlet. But I got a camera that did really good video as well. And I remember setting this camera up, and I just wanted to share kind of what I was going through during that time. I didn't know how to talk to a camera. I didn't know audio. And I just found a raw video where I just thought the background looked incredible. And I was very insecure in how I looked, how I sounded, how I would talk, all of those things. And if you're watching this right now, this YouTube channel only has like 14 or 15 subscribers. So I'm not saying that I know what I'm doing by any means, but I do want to say that you should just do it. That you should just make the video. You should take the picture. You should jump into whatever it is that has been on your heart, especially when it comes to things that God has laid on your heart. And if God has given you a dream or a vision or an idea, just go for it. Because I look at this video and I remember the place I was at in this video. And I'm glad that I made it. And I'm glad that I feel confident enough to share it with you now, because the message in there, even what I was speaking about, I remember how I felt during this time in my life. And now I want to release it. I forgot about it. I probably hid it, honestly. I could probably put it away. But I want to go ahead and release this video. And it's just me talking, just to show a little bit of my personal journey of just doing things scared. So I hope you enjoy it. You know, I found myself in a conversation a couple months ago, and it was over how we often feel exposed in relationships and how we don't realize some of the tendencies or habits that we may have. And the whole conversation was lighthearted, so it wasn't like it was a deep, intense conversation. But the reality is that, you know, there are moments in our life where we're exposed and we're vulnerable, and a lot of times it's in moments where we're near someone or close to somebody, or even in the growing close to somebody. That whole process, it allows you to actually see deeper into each other's lives. And it kind of honestly throws you for a whirlwind sometimes, where you realize even things about yourself are like, man, I didn't realize I did that. I don't know why I do that. You know, and I was thinking about this, that in a lot of ways too, seasons of our life look like that, where there's certain things that we experience and go through that often have that same effect of being very exposing and cause us to feel very vulnerable, where there's maybe relationships that are cut off, or there's feelings of anger and loneliness and almost even on the verge of depression, whether it's a very easy, fun, you know, adventurous season of your life, or whether it's a really hard and trying time of your life. There's things that we start to see in and around ourselves that we either are proud of or we really, really can't stand. And I think for me personally, I've kind of been through that journey a little bit recently. And losing my dad, I've had to walk through grief and mourning in ways that I've never experienced before. You know, a lot of times, you know, people tell you, well, you're never gonna, it'll never get easy. You're never gonna fully get over, the loss of a loved one. And it's honestly very much true. But through my experience, one of the things that I realized is that I was actually struggling in ways that I didn't realize were exposing or tendencies or, unhealthy habits. One of those being, I would actually start cutting myself off from people. I would kind of like slowly slip into the background. And if you know me, I'm just naturally big, but also I'm kind of out there, and I had so many people checking on me, and it actually drove me nuts. I was like, stop checking on me. I would say thank you, but in my head I'm like, why do people keep checking on me? And then before you know it, I started to, have these times where I would just be so angry and so mad over the smallest things. Other times I would find myself wanting to spend time by myself, even though I desperately wanted to be around people. I just didn't have the capacity to do that. I started to try to find solutions in everything. I invested into a new camera. I invested my time into just watching YouTube videos. I watched hours and hours and hours because I wanted to make sure that this was a time that was productive, and it was a time where I got to spend, growing through something that was difficult and have something amazing flourish out of it. And the reality is I spent a lot of lonely nights just sitting there. I spent a lot of time just sad and not realizing, dang, I don't have it all together right now. I began to realize that I had some unhealthy habits and just things that I didn't take care of that I'm like, oh man, in regards to my faith, I know what to do, but at the same time, I'm like, man, God, I know that I'm not supposed to do this. I know that I'm not supposed to think like this. I know that I'm not supposed to feel this way. And so for a little bit of time there, I actually started to try to fix it myself. And I found myself even deeper into these pits of loneliness and anger and sadness. And even on the verge of depression. I'm serious that when you've experienced depression, when it comes knocking at your door. And then I read through Matthew 11. And Jesus invites everybody who has heavy burdens, everybody who is hurting. And he says, I will give you rest. He says, come to me, all who are heavy laden, all those who have heavy burdens, all those who are walking through some really tough things and some really hard times right now, and I have rest for you. And the beauty of that passage is it talks about how it's not just rest for my physical body. It's not just rest for, my mind, all these, thoughts and ideas and these things that I think about all the time. No, it says specifically that Jesus has rest for our soul. And so I began to take time and think about what that actually means. And through my journey, I started to really see that God invites us to bring the raw emotion to Him. The anger, the loneliness, the sadness, that we don't have to fix that in order to give it to the Lord. But rather God invites us to give it to Him and to submit it to Him so that He can bring rest to us, so that He can bring peace to us, so that we can actually feel His love, because it has nothing to do with what we can do to make our lives better. But in reality, it's all about us submitting everything that we're feeling to a God who truly values and cares for us. And I don't know what you're going through today. I don't know what you're going through in this season, or maybe even in relationships around you. But if there are things that you see that are unhealthy habits or unhealthy tendencies, or maybe there's emotions that you're feeling, or maybe you're going through grief, or you're going through mourning, or you're going through some major, huge life transition right now, I want to tell you that we serve a God who invites us to lay these things down, who invites us to trade burdens with us, who invites us to give the things that are heavy to us to Him, so that we can actually take His burden, which that passage talks about, His burden being light, and that we can learn from Him. And so I don't know about you, but I'm in a season right now where I'm really tired of carrying the things that I've been carrying. I'm really tired of trying to make sense of the world through my mind, because when I did that, it took me to some pretty dark places. It took me to some pretty lonely places. And in coming to a full revelation of just how good Jesus is, It's allowed me to feel like I could be more vulnerable. It's allowed me to feel like I have an invitation to be exposed, but not in a way that would bring condemnation from God, because, we talk about John 3:16 and 3:17, where it says that God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that through him we might be saved. And I found myself in a position, even in growing up in the church, that I still needed to be saved. That I still, every single day, am looking for a Savior that could help me walk through this life. And a part of my exposing, I guess, of myself, or my vulnerability, is that I don't have it all together. And I've struggled a lot in my life. I've made a lot of dumb decisions. I've hurt a lot of feelings. I've hurt people. But I'm glad that God invites us to also give that to him, so that we could actually take on the identity that he has for us, which is a new creation. So, with whatever it is that you're going through today, I hope that you're encouraged that God has rest for you. He has peace for your soul, rest for your soul.